1IQ. It's our latest indicator. And I want to share with you because this has come up by email quite a few times. What are some of the best practices which I use to trade with this indicator? Now, in order to get to this point, first off, 1IQ is one of our market IQ indicators. So it's part of this market IQ suite. It's our latest addition to it. But unlike liquidity IQ, unlike volume IQ, and unlike MA Rush, it needs to be traded with a bit differently. Why is this? Well, because the indicator is designed to notify you when there is a noteworthy headline. What constitutes a noteworthy headline in terms of trading? That's a bit up to you. You can configure this in the settings of the indicator. But the way I set it up, I want my headlines to be as headliney as possible, meaning I should only get alerted when I think like almost like the perfect storm is coming up, the perfect setup is coming up. This is how I personally, I'm going to show you my configuration in a second. This is how I personally set up this indicator. Now, in general, what are the the headlines you could be alerted to? Well, it could be a long power bounce, a short power bounce would be the opposite of the long power bounce, a long power breakout, and a short power breakout. And each of these setups, or for each of these setups, for example, the long power bounce, multiple things need to come together. We call this confluence. So for example, for the long power bounce, the trend needs to be bullish. The trend is your friend. Price pulled back to a key technical level on your chart, and there is a second line of defense in place. And how close these need to be together, and in which order these need to occur, this can be set in the settings of the indicator. I'm going to share my settings with you in just a second. All right, so this is the main purpose of the indicator. It's a headline indicator. It will alert you when something noteworthy comes up. This is, I think, very important to understand. It's not primarily a chart indicator. Primarily, it is an alert indicator. It's meant to notify you if something of a headline pops up. Okay, so that's the main purpose of the indicator. As such, here is what I would recommend, and this is how I use it personally, as the workflow on how to use the indicator. Step number one, and I wouldn't do it the opposite way, where I only flip to charts. This typically will not give you much satisfaction because oftentimes there's no headline on the chart because it's very conservative the way the indicator works. Instead, what you want to do is you want to start with a scanning/alerts setup. Set up your alerts, either in TradingView and NinjaTrader, or perhaps a Motive Wave, or perhaps run a scan. This is how I would start. Use a tool which goes through multiple charts or multiple symbols and finds you the few of them which currently have a headline. So do this, breadth first approach, where you go through multiple charts, or ideally use the tool, and find the ones which currently have a headline. Once you have a headline, you will confirm the setup by applying liquidity IQ to the chart, potentially MA Rush and volume IQ, and maybe even 1IQ, putting all your support indicators onto the chart to ensure, okay, this setup is actually what I was looking for. It makes sense to me. Everything is lining up. Just basically your sanity check here. But you want to start with the scanning process of the alerts step first. Starting with opening up the chart right away oftentimes will not give you much outcome because most of the time there is not a noteworthy headline on your chart. This is by design because the indicator will only alert you if something of noteworthiness happens. Now, how do I configure the indicator? Well, this is what I typically use. This is my configuration which I have set up right now for the indicator. And this is for day trading, I should say. For swing trading, it will be different. But for day trading futures, this is how I set up my indicator. And the things which are different from the defaults are highlighted here. First off, I apply the indicator to the 15-minute time frame when it comes to day trading. This is my preferred time frame. Some of you may say, okay, this is not really day trading, it's quite slow, but that fits my personality. Okay, so 15-minute chart time frame. Chart TF is 15 minutes. Then I configure the primary trigger for the indicator to be a technical level as per liquidity IQ. And this is perhaps again, it's my personal preference. By default, it could be either a technical level or it could be the zone of control of volume IQ. I prefer this setup. It looks more clean that way, at least to me. I prefer the primary trigger to be a technical level of liquidity IQ. I also want price to be fairly close to this technical level. So at most 3 ATRs away. And I also require that my second line of defense, in this case, it needs to be the zone of control of volume IQ, cannot be further away than 3 ATRs as well. This is very strict. This does not happen very often, but I personally think that this will give you more quality setups. At least to me, when I traded, it has been working out quite nicely for this. But sometimes, I can see it here, when I go back to TradingView, right here, you will not get many alerts. Look at my alerts here. I only had one alert today. It was a power breakout alert. 3 yesterday, 3 the day before. This is not a lot. It's very selective. But things will change. Right now, markets are kind of undecisive, at least for the symbols I'm tracking. If you scroll down a little bit, there are days where I get like 10 alerts or even more, maybe 20 alerts. Okay? So this will change, but it tells me right now things are kind of, in limbo. There's no clear-cut setup. And as I mentioned before, sometimes not taking a trade is the best trade advice that you may get. All right, so this is how I configure the indicator. And the last thing to be pointed out is that the reference time frame that I use for liquidity IQ and for MA Rush is the 30-minute time frame. So if you go back to the chart one more time, and if you go to my configuration of 1IQ here, just to summarize, my primary trigger is a level, not levels end zone. So this is not the default. Proximity sensitivity is 3 ATRs. For the primary trigger and 3 ATRs for the second line of defense, which in this configuration needs to be the zone of control of volume IQ. And then I use the 30-minute time frame as reference for liquidity IQ and also for MA Rush. This is how I configure the indicator. And then in TradingView, and I have I forget which edition it is, but it's a fairly advanced edition of TradingView. What I do then is I, of course, configure the indicator as I like, and then I go to alerts here and set up a watch list alert for this configuration of 1IQ for my 3 different trades. This is possible with my TradingView edition. If you can only define, I can define multiple watch list alerts. If you can only define one watch list alert, you would pick the any alert option here. But I personally, I like to have the flexibility to have the different alerts set up separately, because that way I can see right away here in my alerts list what kind of alert it was. If it was just any alert, I wouldn't see that information here. All right, so this is how I set up 1IQ.